Hello everyone and welcome back to my Unreal Engine tutorial series about creating your own 3D platformer. In this episode we'll be creating a currency system similar to those of maybe Spyro or Mario. As you can see here, we can change our mesh as well as how fast it rotates and the value of the item. So if we have different items or if we want different values on the level, this is how we can easily do it, and it's very modular and very easy. So let's get into it. So first, let's come into our content browser, go to our blueprints folder, and we're going to right click anywhere and type in blueprint class, and we're just going to make it an actor. We're going to name this actor BP collectible currency. Okay, so let's open that up. Bring it over to the screen. Okay. And we're also going to open up our BP player stats. Just going to bring this all into one screen, make it a bit easier for us. We're going to open our HUD as well. So go over to the HUD in your content browser under UI, open up your HUD. And we're going to open up BP player as well. So let's first start with the currency itself. Okay, so what we're going to need in here is we're going to need several things. First, let's add a sphere collision. Nice and easy. Then let's add a static mesh. Just make this attached to the root. Attach that to that, that's fine. And then what we're going to add is something called a rotating movement, which basically is just Unreal's easy way of allowing us to rotate something fairly easily and quickly without needing to code it. So on the right side here, we've got this rotation rate, and we want to change this Z value to something that you would enjoy. So I'm just going to drop mine to 90 as I find that works pretty well for me. So click compile and save. And then we can come over to our static mesh, and obviously you can put in any mesh you want, but I imported my mesh, which I made myself in Blender using just Blender's easy things and then texturing it. So I'm just gonna drop the static mesh down in size a bit to 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, because that works for me. Yeah. And come to your sphere collision and increase the size of this to maybe like 64. It seems a bit small, so maybe 128. Perfect. So click compile and save. Now, what we're gonna want to do before we get into any sort of coding is I want to make this modular so that every instance we have of this blueprint, we can change the mesh, the value, and how fast it rotates so that we can have it separate on each instance, and it will come out really nice and modular so you can use it and reuse it as many times as you like. So come to your construction script, and we're going to drag off here and type a sequence because we're going to do several things. The sequence just allows Unreal Engine to do things in a sequence essentially. So this will code for this will happen first, then this, and if we keep adding more, go this and this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, coding in that order. So I'm just going to use 2 for now. So drag off the first one, and actually let's grab the static mesh, it'll be a bit easier, and go set static mesh and drag that in here. Now this new mesh, we're going to click and drag out here and promote it to a variable, not a local variable, but a variable, and just call this item mesh. Okay, and we're going to come up to this instance edible and check it. Okay. So that's all we need to do. So basically what happens is when we spawn this currency in the world, we will then get to choose what the mesh looks like using this item mesh. So let's just comment this and set mesh dynamically. Then what we're going to do is we're going to want to set the scale as well. So drag off the static mesh, and we're going to go get set world transform. Okay. Well, what we're going to do then is right click on this new transform, click split structure, and we're just going to get several things, which is fairly easy. But the one thing we're going to change is this item scale. So drag off static mesh and say get world location. This out the way. And then get world rotation for this one. And finally, for the scale, we're going to right click and go promote to variable and just call this item scale. Perfect. Okay, so click compile and save. Then this item scale, make sure your item scale is set to 1 by default, otherwise you might not see your mesh. So let's comment this, set scale of mesh done. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come here and drag off here. Actually, to make it a bit easier, drag off the rotating movement and go set rotation, set rotating rotation rate. Yeah, there we go. And come here, and then we're just gonna right click on this and go promote to variable and leave it as rotation rate. Okay, two things I forgot. So you just want to click on your rotation rate variable, make sure it's instance editable, and item scale also instance editable. So now that that's set, let's just comment this. And this will be the set rotation. Okay, so let me show you what that does quickly. So if we just minimize this and we go collectible, we call this collectible currency. So let's just drag this item in the world. There we go, nice and easy. So if we come over to the right side here, we can now see we've got all these variables under the default here. So if I come and click here, we could go coins, and I've added my coin there. Now I could, obviously it's huge and I don't want that. So let's reduce this to say 0.2, 0.2, and 0.2. All very easily doable. And you can see that our collision sphere, because we attached it, allowed us to reduce its size as well. And the rotation rate we can set here to 90. Now I want to actually set that by default to 90, but for now that's fine. So let's go back here and set this rotation rate to 90 on the Z. Compile and save. Okay. So now let's see what will happen if we play our game. So there we go, we can see the coin, nice and easy, it's spinning. But obviously we've got no functionality yet, and we keep bashing into it, which we don't want. So let's fix that. Okay, go back here, go to your static mesh and just scroll down until you see this collision preset and just go no collision. It won't really matter because the sphere collision is going to be where most of our coding is going to take place. So let's get to that. Now go to your event graph and we're going to click on the sphere and go all the way down here to this on component begin overlap. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go drag off the other actor and equal, make sure it's get player character. That way we know that it's our character interacting it and not with an enemy or anything like that. So drag off here, get a branch, connect it up. Okay. Sorry. Forgive me, I am a bit sick, so let's get it. Okay, so copy and paste your get player character. And we're gonna go cast to BP player. Drag it into the true. Yeah, nice and easy. So what we're gonna want to do then is just drag out here and get BPC stats. Get BPC stats. Okay. For now, let's leave it here and let's go to the BPC stats so I can show you what we're about to do with this begin overlap. Okay, so now that we're in the BPC player stats, let's go ahead and do a few things to show how we can add money to our character. So let's come down here and create a custom event, call it add money or currency, gems, whatever you want to call it, right? We're going to have an input here of incoming money or incoming amount. I think incoming amount makes more sense. And make this a float. Yeah, compile and save. So what we're going to do then is obviously we're going to have the incoming amount plus whatever we already had. But let's swap these around so it makes a bit more sense logically. So we're going to have our current money plus whatever's incoming. And that's going to be our new money value. So drag out here, set your money and just connect it up. Okay. So that's the easy way of doing this. Now, whenever we pick up something, we're going to get this money. Okay. So now that we've done that, let's go back to our collectible currency and I'll show you how quickly we can and easily we can add this. So drag off your BBC player stats. Now that we've got this, add money. Now you'll get the add money function, which we could just click and drag here. And obviously this incoming amount or incoming money, we can promote to a variable. So just click and drag out to incoming money. Okay, so what we're going to do with this incoming money is we're going to make it instance editable. That way, from the overworld, we can change how much we want. But for now, let's set it as a default of 1. That way, our money will always have a value of 1. Then what we're going to do is click and drag out here. So play sound at location. Click and drag out of here, get actor location. So what this will do is it will play whatever sound we choose wherever the coin is. So let's just pick any noise. We're going to say this camera shutter. Nice and easy. There we go. And finally, we're going to destroy the actor. So just to go over this, when we walk over the sphere collision, we're going to check that if it's the player. If it is the player, we're going to cast to them because we want to get the BBC player stats. And we're going to add the incoming value of money. When we do that, we're going to play the sound at wherever the actor is and then destroy it. So we can't obviously pick it up multiple times. Compile and save. And let's test this out. There we go. Obviously, we've not been able to see how much money we collected, but it's there. So if we come over to the right side now, you can see here we've got incoming money value, which is, well, great, because that's what we want to change. So let me show you what I mean. So let's drag out another instance. Okay, so remember this one is 1. And let's make this 10 and also change the mesh to be something else. So I made this diamond in Blender. Let's see if we can get a nice picture. There we go, nice and easy. And that will be worth 10 coins or 10 money, whatever you choose. Let's get on to displaying the HUD and showing the amount of money we have. So go back into your player HUD that we opened up, and we're going to do a few things here. So let's first get an overlay. And an overlay is pretty self-explanatory. We're just going to drop it on the canvas panel. And we're going to change a few things. So we're going to make sure it is a variable. And let's just rename this. So let's say this is overlay currency. Nice and easy. Okay. So that, because we need it as a variable, because we need to be able to reference it in our code. Excuse me. Let's change a few things. So let's change the anchor to the middle of the side of the screen. And then put the position back to 0. And we're going to change a few things. So let's put this up to 200 and this to about 100. I'm happy with that. Change the alignment to about 0.5 and maybe move the position X over 50 units. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So that's the basics now. Now that's where our little overlay with our money is going to show up. So let's just put in a few more things to make it look a bit nicer. We're going to just drag a basic image into here. And I'm going to make this image black. And it's going to fill the whole section. You can click these horizontal alignments. And I'm just going to change the alpha value to say 0.35. So it's just a bit of a darker background. Then what we're going to do is we're going to grab another image, put it on the overlay, not on the image, but on the overlay. And we're going to set it about halfway down, put some padding from the left and maybe 20 units. Great. And then in the image here, we're just going to choose whatever image. I already have an image which I brought in. If it would let me, yeah, coin image. Okay, so you can see mine gets a bit scuffed, but we can easily change that with a bit of scaling. Maybe bring it down to like 64, 64. There we go. So there's my coin. Okay. Obviously, if you want to make this variable change per thing, you can, but I'm not going to because this is just, it will represent all the money in the game for me. So last thing we're going to add is a text, which is going to show the amount. Now we're going to drop it on the overlay as well. We're going to put it halfway down. And we're gonna change what's in the block, just so that it makes like it gives us a visual representation. So I'm just going to put 999,999. Okay. So then we're going to move this over to wherever we need it to be. So I'm going to right align it, and then I'm going to pad it a bit, maybe 20 units. That's good. So essentially that is what our HUD is going to look like. Now make sure our text is variable, and let's just label it, something that's easily referenceable. Text block currency. Nice and easy. There we go. Compile and save. Okay, now that we've got all this, we can now go ahead and do something fancy and make it look really cool. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna animate this overlay that every time we pick up a coin or a value, it pops up on screen and then disappears after a couple seconds. So let's go to animation down here in the bottom left, click new animation and just label it currency animation. Yeah, click on it, click add, and what we're going to do is we're going to add this overlay currency over here. So this gives us all the variables or all the things we're able to animate in the overlay. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to this little plus here, and we're going to click transform and then do it again for render opacity. Now you can change how long you want this to happen, but for me I'm only going to make it happen for about half a second. So I'm going to go to about 0.5, click this little plus, and that's going to just basically make a keyframe between the two. So I'm going to come back here to 0 and change the render opacity to 0. So what you'll see is over half a second, it will go from invisible to visible. Now I want to do the same with transform. So I'm going to do the little plus there and then go back here and move the transform on the X to somewhere off the screen. So maybe -255. And we're gonna keyframe it. Okay, so essentially what will happen is over half a second it will play. So play it like that. There we go. And we don't need to reanimate it again to do the same in reverse. So I'll show you how we can use it in engine code so that it's much easier to work with. So just click compile and save. Okay, so one thing you might get, the one thing I want to change is I want to change how the default opacity of the overlay is. Now, if you come out here and you click on your overlay currency and you see the render opacity is at 0, what you want to do is you want to click back to your animations and just click anywhere in this free space to deselect the animation, because we don't want to affect the animation, we want to affect the overlay itself. So once that's done, we can now go to overlay currency and just change the render opacity to 0 because we want it by default to be invisible. So compile and save. Okay, so now that we're done with all the animation of the making it look fancy, let's go over to BPC stats. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our player reference, get reference to our HUD, and then we want to get reference to the animation which we made in the HUD. So this currency animation. So just type in currency animation, and we're gonna go drag off here, play animation. Okay, so then we're gonna need the target, which is the HUD itself, and drag and connect all the rest here. Now what we want to make sure is that the play mode is forward, so that in the when we first add the money, we get to play correctly first forwards. Okay. Now directly after that, we're going to get a reference again. We're going to get our HUD, and from our HUD we're going to drag off and get our currency. Get currency, text block currency. That's what we're going to get, is this over here, because we want to affect this text block over here, which is labeled text block currency, and we're going to set text. And then what we're gonna do is easily just convert by clicking and dragging our money value onto it, and it will auto convert it for us so that it's displayable. Nice and easy. There we go. Just drag these to make it look a bit neater. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna delay it. And this delay is gonna be how long the overlay stays on screen. So say 2 seconds for our instance. Then essentially just copy this because we're going to now play it in reverse all the way to the end here. And click reverse. And that is it. So let's just go over this. When we add our money, we're going to add the value. We're going to play the animation from the HUD. And it's going to update the money, delay on 2 seconds, and then reverse the animation. So let's just comment this as the add money. And one more thing which we're going to do is we want the default value of money which we have in our BPC player stats, which is this 8 over here, to show up on the HUD rather than the 99999 that we added. So let's add a custom event up here, and then let's set money value. Essentially, we're going to copy exactly this, but it's just going to affect the currency itself. So let's get a player HUD reference. So now we're going to get off here, drag off here and go get currency, text block currency. And we're just going to set the text to be our money value. Obviously use the autoconvert, it's a bit easier, faster. Okay, there we go. Comment this as set initial money value. There you go. So click compile and save. And that's all we need to do inside the BPC player stats. So let's go over to our BPC player. And basically we want now that HUD to be updated automatically. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to where we've added our HUD originally and set that health value on the screen. And just drag off our BPC player stats and say set money value. There we go. Now click and drag and connect it. Add a rewrite node to make it a bit neater. There we go. Click compile and save. Okay, now that we're done with that, we can go ahead and test. But before we go ahead and test everything, I want to create a few more of these just to make it a bit easier for us to see. So I'm just going to click out and drag and put them across the level. Let's just say like this. So like how Mario has it set up. Yeah, there we go. So remember, we started with an initial value of 8 money for our character. So here we are in the level and pick up, look, there we go, 9, pretty. And animation's very nice. Yep, see, I made that value 10, perfect. So we come and pick up 20, 21, and 22, there we go. So that is easily how we can add money to our character and have it imported into our game in a modular way, and it lets us be able to change these easily on the fly and have it changed however we want. Even if we want our items to be ridiculously big, still works, still great. Perfect. And that will be it for this episode. In the next episode, we will be going over creating either these traps, which will damage our player, or it will be a save and checkpoint system. So until then, I hope you've had fun and learned a lot, and keep at it. Cheers.